This reading is from my book, The Bullhead Queen, A Year on Pioneer Lake, from an essay titled, The Green Season. My family and I sit in the same pew each Sunday, not only because we are Lutheran, and Lutherans like predictability and order, but because I can look out the open door and watch the activity on the bank above North Center Lake. Sitting close to the outdoors, there is a blurring of sacred and secular space. It is not clear where one ends and the other begins. Sometimes a cooling breeze wafts off the water and finds its way into the sanctuary. This morning, I observed several dead trees on the edge of the road on the crest of the lakeshore. I am sure these trees were alive in June. They're elms, small elms, and they have succumbed to another assault by Dutch elm disease. This fungus from Europe swept through the Midwest in a fury 4 decades ago, decimating the Native American elm. In the years following, it has returned for the scattered individuals it somehow missed. Every summer we see 1 or 2 local trees yellow prematurely, drop leaves and die, another casualty to the fungal attack. Dutch elm, ash willows, cedar apple rust, white pine blister rust, oak wilt, a plethora of diseases conspired to dull the freshness of the green season. Recently, I learned of a new disease, sapstreak, which threatens the sugar maple, the dominant tree in our local woods. Secretly, I had exulted that this one tree at least was free from threat. No longer. I turned my attention to inside the sanctuary, where green pyramids adorn the ornately carved altar, the pulpit, the lectern. Golden stalks of embroidered wheat waved their seed heads from the richly colored tapestries. They complement the stenciled purple grape design that decorates the chancel arch. Together they are meant to symbolize bread and wine, but in this initial representation they are not processed, but elemental, green plants, wheatgrass, and grapevine. They are delegates from the natural world to the sacred realm. They are emissaries with a message, the body and the blood, the bread and the wine, the grape and the wheat, and you, human beings, we are one with you. There's a fundamental, if unconscious, sensibility of ecological relationship here. The Sundays after Pentecost, so-called ordinary time, are also known as the green season. The pyramids reflect this. All the Sundays in summer, when the landscape is resplendent with chlorophyll-laden plants, belong to the green season. The color was chosen early in the history of the church to depict life and hope and growth. I'll admit I need this word of hope at times when I catch sight of dead trees in the middle of summer. My spirit flags when I mull over environmental ills. We tend to take summer's vitality for granted, when in actuality it is just one prolonged drought or disease away from decimation. I do rely on Christianity's hope, although I also cringe to voice the thought. So many have sought refuge in a simplistic belief in a heaven that has no ties to this green planet, and have used the idea as an excuse not to concern themselves with its ill treatment. But rightly understood, this religion is not a refuge for the cowardly or inattentive, but a cradle for the courageous who spring from it to confront the ills of this world. For me, in this time of climate change, there is no other green space that nurtures. Surely I can't rest on the track record of the human race in rising to the occasion to address the looming crisis. Once, a simple walk in a park or the woods was enough to nourish me completely. It can still refresh me, but it has become harder and harder to ignore what I take as ominous signs. Not one Swainson's thrush in a spring forest. Not one spring peeper calling from an ephemeral pond. Only a handful of monarch butterflies migrating south, when 10 years ago I saw hundreds. And so to the last refuge, the one with the ancient words, the one holding out hope in the grimmest of times. I have long been intrigued by the assignation of color to emotional state. I just saw red, a furious friend exclaims. It's all golden, Mom, my son says with satisfaction. There are black days, and black moods and blue days, yellow bellies and white feathers. We seem to take from the color green a mixed message. Someone might be green with envy or merely nauseous, green around the gills. Sometimes green people are the inexperienced. At other times, they are those striving to become environmentally correct. Being green may be a passing stage on the way to ripeness, or it may mean being exceptionally fresh and vital, like the succulent vegetables at a greengrocer's. I say yes to all of these, to the complexity of those alive to the green season. We are both inexperienced and fresh. We long for growth and vitality. We are ill with the state of the earth. We listen for the green hope pregnant in the small voice that whispers to us that this too might be saved.